From 1999 up until 2010, the Western Conference was dominated by two teams, the Lakers and the Spurs, led by some dominant players, three top 15 of all time players, and Tim Duncan, Kobe, and Shaq. In that 11-year window, only one other team managed to win the Western Conference, and that was the '06 Dallas Mavericks. And due to this dominance, it seems like we don't really remember how good some of the other teams were. They're almost more infamous, right? Like the 7 seconds or less. We look back at that team with reverence, but we kind of look at them like a cute story. That Sacramento Kings team, we kind of look at someone like Chris Webber as a disappointment and not someone that was a peer of Tim Duncan and Shaq at the time. So the purpose of this video is not to diminish or disparage Tim Duncan or Kobe in any way, but I want to look at the luck that is involved in this type of dominance, right? I think we all could acknowledge no matter how good you are, you probably need a little bit of luck to win, which is how we get no other winners out the Western Conference for 11 years. And this is not hate in any way. The Lakers-Spurs rivalry is the reason I'm a basketball fan. That was my childhood. It's not me hating on Tim Duncan, definitely not hating on Kobe. But let's start with 99, which was a lockout year. They only played 50 games, and this was the year after Michael Jordan retired, a weird time in the NBA. Not hate, just a factual statement, which is how we end up with an 8-seed New York Knicks team in the finals. But before we get to the finals, I feel like we don't talk about this enough. A second-year Tim Duncan dominating that Lakers team, a prime Shaq, sweeping them in the second round, after beating Minnesota in the first round. But then we get to the conference finals where they play the Portland Trailblazers, which was a good team. They were 35-15 in 50 games. But their leading scorer was Isaiah Rider, who was a very good player. He was a bucket. But in the conference finals and the finals back-to-back, the best guy on the other team, or the leading scorer on the other team, were Isaiah Rider and Latrell Sprewell. I think we all can say that's very fortunate. Isaiah Rider led them in points per game that year with 14 points per game. And this was, again, a very good team, but it was the year after where they add Scottie Pippen, they add Detlef Schrempf, and they add Steve Smith. Now, this first example is not like the other ones, right? Because it's not like they benefited from someone getting hurt or something like that. Like the Lakers could have beat the Spurs and had the same route to a championship. Minnesota could have beat the Spurs and had the same route to a championship. But you guys got to agree that playing Isaiah Rider and Latrell Sprewell back-to-back for the championship is kind of crazy, right? So let's put a bookmark in the Spurs. Now we're going to move on to the Lakers. And it's kind of crazy thinking about it because after Michael Jordan retires, everyone's looking for Shaq to be the next guy to be the face of the league. And it seemed like Tim Duncan just came out of nowhere and stole that. And then Shaq goes on a three-peat directly after that. And maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but looking at the first 2 years of that three-peat, I don't really see any luck going on, right? But we're gonna fast forward all the way to the third year of the three-peat. The infamous Lakers-Kings series where everyone says the Lakers, the refs helped the Lakers, the refs were paid for all that series, right? But there was something else that happened in that series. But first of all, let's talk about that. People will always reference that, and that was Game 6. Now listen, if you're a Kings fan and you feel like you were robbed, I'm not here to argue with you. I don't think that's what happened though. My perspective, right? Again, maybe I'm biased. Kobe's my favorite player of all time. But the Lakers took 40 free throws in that game. 6 of them were, playing the foul game at the end of the game. So if I say the free throw difference was 40-25, that sounds kind of crazy. If I say it was 34-25, that doesn't sound too egregious in my opinion. But where they really got unlucky was Shaq took 17 free throws and he shot 13 of 17. That's unlucky. Kobe took 11 free throws and he made all 11. They really needed those guys to miss a couple of those, but that's what Shaq did. He fouled out Scott Pollard in 11 minutes. He also fouled out Vlade Divac. Go watch old Shaq film. That's what happened. So if you feel like it was a bad whistle, I probably agree with you, but that was a normal occurrence for prime Shaq. But everyone was so focused on the refs and the free throws, no one talks about the real unlucky part of that year for the Kings. because before they played the Lakers, they played the Dallas Mavericks. And in game 3 of that series, Peja Stojakovic sprains his ankle. And it's so bad that not only does he miss the rest of the Dallas series, he misses the first 4 games of the Lakers series. So they managed to beat Dallas without who I would say is their second best player in Peja Stojakovic. Actually, it's not even up for debate. That year, Peja Stojakovic was an all-star. Chris Webber put up 24 points a game. Peja put up 21 points per game. So without your second best player, your second leading scorer, your best shooter, you managed to be in a 2-2 series with Kobe and Shaq. And not only are you in a 2-2 series, you only lose game 4 by 1 point. And for those of you who don't remember, this was the iconic, clutch, big shot Bob, Robert Horry three-pointer. Kobe misses, Shaq misses, kick out to Robert Horry, he hits the shot. It's now a 2-2 series. They were about to be down 3-1 to a team that didn't have their second best player. But now it's a 2-2 series and Peja Stojakovic is back. But he doesn't have much to offer in this game 5. He plays 18 minutes, takes 3 shots, misses all 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He has 6 boards, I guess, but he was a -8 in 18 minutes. And the Kings somehow still won this game. You guys gotta think about if Chris Webber were to really pull out this series without his second best player against Kobe and Shaq. Crazy, and we gotta talk more about this Kings team next year, but the Kings are now up 3-2. They're like 1 second away from this series already being over if Robert Horry doesn't hit that shot. They're up 3-2, and now this is where we get the 40 free throw game. I already spoke about that. And then we get game 7, which also in a lot of ways came down to free throws. Because in this game, the Lakers took 33 free throws. The Kings took 30. The Lakers made 27. The Kings only made 16 free throws. That was the game. And again, Shaq was 11 of 15 from the line. Kobe was 8 of 10. The rest of the Lakers did not miss. And if you were to tell a Kings fan at the time, we're not going to have our second best player against Kobe and Shaq. Shaq is going to shoot 75% from the line in the last 2 games. You would think you got swept. And something I never knew, and probably another reason why people think it's a bit of a conspiracy, in game 5, right, the game the Kings won by 1 point, Shaq only took 1 free throw. He only took 1 free throw when he fouled out. So maybe in the next game, the refs were trying to make up for it, but no one ever brings that up. Shaq took 1 free throw in a game. You can't tell me there's a game that Prime Shaq was playing where he only deserved 1 free throw. But that was an all-time classic series, but no one ever brings up Peja Stojakovic. But that was the last year of the Lakers three-peat, but this Kings team was not done because they come back next year and they win 59 games. Which sounds like a lot, but the year prior, the year we just talked about, they won 61 games. But this year, they win 59, the Spurs win 60, and the Mavericks win 60. And if you care about net rating, the Mavericks were far and ahead the best team in the NBA with a net rating of 8.4. The Kings were second with a 6.8, and the Spurs were third with a 5.9. But the Spurs had a tiebreaker, so they were the 1 seed. Which means that the Mavericks and Kings would have to meet in the playoffs once again in the second round. And in game 1, Chris Webber, Peja Stojakovic are dominating, cruising. Game 2, the Mavericks are dominating, and it gets worse because in this game 2, Chris Webber would tear his ACL. And you remember how they beat the Mavericks and took the Lakers 7 essentially without Peja Stojakovic? Well, they would take the Mavericks 7 without Chris Webber in games 3 through 7. But they ran out of gas. Dirk dominated in game 7 with 30 points and 19 boards. And now the Mavericks were on to face the Spurs. Now you're thinking, what does Chris Webber getting hurt have to do with the Spurs? It didn't really matter because the Spurs were going to have to play the Mavericks or the Kings anyway. They weren't going to have to go through both of them. And the Mavericks were the better team. So we get it. Mavericks Spurs conference finals. Duncan versus Dirk. And it was a classic first game. Dirk has 38 and 15, Tim Duncan has 40 and 15. Looks like we're about to get a crazy battle. Mavs win game 1. Game 2, Spurs respond. But in game 3, a game in which it should be noted the Spurs were already winning, they were gonna win this game, but Dirk sprains his knee and misses the rest of that series. Now again, is that on Tim Duncan? Is that on Pop? Is that on the Spurs in any way? No. But the two best teams in the NBA that year lose their best players, and Tim Duncan gets to coast to the finals. I'm just saying what happened. I'm not saying they don't deserve to. I'm telling you guys what happened. Two 60-win teams lose their best player. The year before, the Kings won 61 games, lost their second best player. I don't think it's out of line to say the Kings were the best team in the NBA for that 2-year run, but they lose their two best players in back-to-back postseason runs. Now, clearly the Spurs go on to win that series. They go on to beat the Nets in the finals, and now Tim Duncan has 2 MVPs, 2 championships at the age of 25, 26. It seems like he's about to be on GOAT levels. But Kobe and Shaq would end up making one last hurrah. We know they didn't win the championship this year, but they end up making the finals one more time. We all know they lose to Detroit. But before that, they played Kevin Garnett, MVP Kevin Garnett, in the conference finals. Now, if you look at this team on paper, it does not look that great. You had Kevin Garnett, you had Wally Szczerbiak, you had Latrell Sprewell, and you had Sam Cassell. And Sam Cassell was really like that. I read in DeMar DeRozan's book that he said he learned a lot of his mid-range game, his pump fakes and all that, by going to Clippers games and watching Sam Cassell's pregame workout, right? And if you grew up in the Los Angeles area like me, you know that going to Clippers games back in the day was a lot more affordable to going to Lakers games. So, people went to Clippers games a lot back in the day. That was a fun little team. But Sam Cassell was not only known for being a bucket or being a hooper, whatever you want to call it, he was also known for his celebration, right? You may have seen this before. And Flip Saunders, I don't know if Sam Cassell ever confirmed this, but Flip Saunders, RIP, said Sam Cassell got hurt doing this celebration in Game 7 against Sacramento. I don't know if Sam ever confirmed this story, but he ends up trying to play through it, but he has to leave that Lakers series in Game 4. They were down 2-1. Sam Cassell could only play 5 minutes in Game 4, misses Games 5 and 6, and the Lakers end up winning in 6. Now, when I say Sam Cassell, you probably don't think of him as someone that could have turned that series. Just so you guys know, that was the best year of Sam Cassell's career. He was an All-Star that year. That was the only year he was ever an All-Star. He was second team All-NBA. He was 10th in MVP voting. I'm gonna round up for him and say he put up 20 points per game, 7 assists per game, shot 48% from the field and nearly 40% from 3. The best comp I could come up with is like if the 2018-19 Raptors lost Kyle Lowry. Would have been a huge deal. So Sam Cassell gets hurt, Lakers go on to the finals, lose to Detroit. We know what happens there. But now there is a shift going on in the Western Conference, right? Steve Nash leaves Dallas. Chris Webber's no longer the same. Kobe and Shaq break up. All while the Spurs are this well-oiled machine, which is why in 2005, the Spurs cruise through the West before meeting up against Detroit in a tough 7-game series where Tim Duncan gets ring number 3. And I might make a whole nother video on this for Tim Duncan, because if you look at his career up until this point, or up until another point we'll get to in a second, but his first 10 to 12 years, there's really not a lot of people that were off to a better start. And clearly he finished top 10, top 15 all time, wherever you put him. But it looked like he was about to be top 2, top 3. But the year after that is the 06 Mavericks team that we talked about, made it to the finals. And another referee controversy, which I think was a lot more egregious than the Lakers Kings one, but we move. D Wade and Shaq win a ring, and for the first time in 6 years at this point, a team besides the Lakers or the Spurs make it out the Western Conference. So now 2007, get back to the regularly scheduled programming. And this time is a moment that all of you probably know, but you probably just don't know at what point in time this happened. But Amar'e Stoudemire, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated players, and Boris Diaw gets suspended for a pivotal Game 5, I believe, for stepping on the court during an altercation after Robert Horry hip-checked Steve Nash into the scores table. Robert Horry again changing NBA history. So the Suns have to play Game 5 at home without their second best player and a key role player in Boris Diaw, and they end up losing this game. They lose 88-85. Shawn Marion has 24 points and 17 boards. Steve Nash has 19 points, 12 assists, but he was 6 and 19 from the field. And honestly, Shawn Marion has a case to be the second best player on this team. But just to remind you how good Amar'e Stoudemire was, in Game 6, we got an absolute classic battle between Amari Stoudemire and Tim Duncan. Amari Stoudemire had 38 points and 12 boards. And when I say that, it sounds like he was absolutely dogging Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan had 9 blocks to go along with 24 points and 13 boards. Amari Stoudemire also had 4 blocks, by the way. But Tony Parker had 30 points, Manu Ginobili had 33 points, and the Suns just could not keep up with that offense in this game. So the Spurs go on to win that series, and they go on to sweep the Cavaliers in the finals. Tony Parker, finals MVP. You guys all know that. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm here to, again, not here to diminish Tim Duncan in any way, but 3 of these 4 rings have had a lot of fortunate stuff go on, which I'm saying you need fortunate, you need luck to win championships. And luck is a big part of why the Lakers and Spurs dominated this conference for 11 years. But now think about where we are in Tim Duncan's career. He's 30 years old, but he's only been in the NBA 10 years. He's now a 4-time champion, 2-time MVP, 9-time first-team All-NBA, 1-time second-team All-NBA. I'm pretty sure he was all-defensive first-team for all of these 10 years. He's on GOAT trajectory. And then he doesn't make a finals again until 2013. But when we talk about a 10-year run to start a career, it's really only rivaled by Magic and Bird. When we talk about individual achievements and team success, like Kareem won, like 5 MVPs in his first 10 years, but he only won 1 ring in his first 10 years. Magic, I'm pretty sure, was a 5-time champion, 2-time MVP in his first 10 years. And we obviously know his career got cut short. Bird was a 3-time champion and a 3-time MVP in his first 10 years. Michael Jordan is a little bit difficult because he got a championship in year 8, 9, and 10, so it kind of skews it, right? But he didn't have that team success at the beginning that these other guys did. But like I said, after 2007, the Spurs would not make it back to the finals until 2013. Meanwhile, the Lakers had been on a bit of a hiatus. Now they're back. We're now back with Kobe and Pau. And unless I'm mistaken, unless I'm missing something, I don't really see anything in that first run to the finals. But during this 3-year run where the Lakers went to 3 straight NBA finals, there was only one team in the Western Conference to take them to 7 games. And you're probably thinking, man, that had to be the Spurs, or that had to be Steve Nash, right? Or that had to be Dirk, or even a young Carmelo. It had to be one of them. No, it was an unassuming Houston Rockets team. A Houston Rockets team that I remember fondly. And this is not Tracy McGrady and Yao, it's Ron Artest and Yao Ming, to go along with Shane Battier, Luis Scola, Carl Landry, Aaron Brooks, a young Kyle Lowry, a lot of very good NBA players on this team. But that doesn't sound like a team that should be taking Kobe and Pau to 7 games. So I'm not sure where I come down on this. Some will say the Lakers got lucky. Others might say it only went 7 games because of what happened. Because what happened in this series was Yao Ming got hurt. He gets hurt in game 3, a game that the Lakers won to put them up 2-1 in the series. Now this probably would have been the biggest upset in NBA history. If this Rockets team without their best player in Yao Ming beat this Lakers team, and it almost happened because after game 3, the Lakers would get kind of blown out in game 4. And this was kind of the breakout moment for Aaron Brooks, who would go on to win Most Improved Player the next year. He dropped 34 points in this game, 12 of 20 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. Shane Battier also hit 5 threes in this game. Ron Artest, 4 of 19 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3, but he had 10 boards, 6 assists, and played great defense on Kobe, of course. And you can't forget Luis Scola, who had 11 points and 14 boards. Does that sound like a team that should be beating that Lakers team? Again, they were a very good team, underrated in my opinion. Oh, and Kyle Lowry, young Kyle Lowry off the bench had 12 as well. But the Lakers get blown out, so of course they're going to respond in a game 5, and they absolutely do, winning by 40 points, 78-118. So of course the series is over now. The Lakers, they played with their food, they got complacent, they thought it was going to be easy, so it should be over now. And the Rockets come back and blow them out again in game 6. Aaron Brooks again with 26 points. This time Luis Scola comes back with 24 and 12. And it looks like the Lakers really might lose this series. And if you guys remember watching this series, you probably remember Kobe was a bit like emotional in this series. And I think it was in large part because they were doing a great job on him. Shane Battier and Ron Artest is kind of crazy to have. You know, that's like when the Spurs had Danny Green and Kawhi. Like, LeBron was like, man, like that's kind of a lot to deal with. But after all that tension, all the suspense building, are the Lakers really going to blow it? They end up blowing out the Rockets in game 7. The Rockets kind of run out of gas and they win 89-70 in a game where Kobe only had 14 points. Now, like I said before, there are kind of two sides of this, right? You might be someone that believes, man, if they had Yao Ming, they might have beat the Lakers. I kind of fall on the other side, not trying to diminish Yao as a player, but I think Yao getting hurt kind of gave them a different look that the Lakers weren't ready for. They kind of were able to space the floor more, put more rangy defenders on the court, and really bother Kobe. And also the Lakers shooters couldn't really take advantage of a slow-footed Yao Ming like a Derek Fisher, Jordan Farmar, Sasha Vujacic. Like, it was harder for those guys to get open looks that they probably could have got with Yao Ming on the court. But who knows what would have happened. I got to bring it up because the Lakers could have lost that series if Yao was there. It also probably, again, would have been the biggest upset in NBA history if the Rockets beat that team without Yao Ming. And that's where it ends because I don't really see anything in the 2020-10 playoff run that the Lakers got fortunate in the Western Conference. They did get fortunate in the finals. Kendrick Perkins getting hurt, a direct correlation to them getting dominated in the boards in game 7. I believe Powell had 18 boards, Kobe had 15. Probably doesn't happen if Kendrick Perkins is healthy. But as far as the Western Conference, I don't see much here. The Lakers kind of cruised through the West that year. OKC in the first round, Utah second round, Phoenix in the conference finals, Celtics 7-game series. So that's it. That's really it. And then we get the 2012 series where, and this is me as a Kobe fan speaking, the Spurs did not want to see Kobe in that 2012 year. That was the year Kobe tore his Achilles. Right before the playoffs, it was Spurs-Lakers first round. And again, it's me as a Kobe fan, but I truly believe it. Spurs did not want to see Kobe in that first round. Kobe was on a mission at that time. That's where we are going to call the video. Again, Spurs fans, Tim Duncan fans, it's not anything against you. I just thought it would be a fun little video to make because we don't usually remember the losers. And for 11 straight years, it was Lakers, Spurs, only 1 year of the Mavs mixed in there. But if we really look at it and look at the other competition in the West, Tim Duncan and Kobe were very fortunate a lot of times, just being real. And in particular, those Kings teams and those Mavs teams in the early 2000s could have changed a lot, right? Steve Nash and Dirk could have had a ring way back in the day. Chris Webber would be looked at like an all-time great if Peja didn't get hurt or if he didn't get hurt. So I really just wanted to show love to these other teams. I also wanted to take a trip down memory lane because, like I said, Tim Duncan versus Kobe is why I'm the diehard NBA fan that I am today. So it's not to take anything away from those guys, just trying to provide the proper context. So if you guys will be kind enough to like the video, it took me a lot of time, a lot of research to do this video. Not really, but you know, like the video anyway. I would greatly appreciate it. And as you're watching this, we're probably approaching 7K subscribers. So you might be the one to put us over that mark. Again, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please drop a like, please comment, please subscribe. I'm out. Peace.